Hey mamas, you are listening to the Motherhood is Ghetto podcast. We all know motherhood can be a beautiful thing, but girl, it can also be ghetto. Join me as we discuss some of the best and worst parts of being a mom raising kids, all while trying to figure out this thing called life. This ghetto is a safe space, mamas. So welcome to the hood. Hey mamas, welcome back to another episode of Motherhood is Ghetto. My name is Joy, and how y'all doing out there? Are y'all doing all right? You already know what to say. Say amen. I pray you are having a great day and a great week so far. Um, and I just want to say really quick, on the day that this episode is being recorded is April 15th. And I just want to give a super huge happy birthday to my brother. I don't even know if he listens to this podcast, okay? I don't know if he's a listener, but I just want to tell him happy birthday. And I love you, bro. I already texted you, but but I'm saying it here. It's on wax now. Happy birthday to you. I wish you many, many more birthdays. Um, I don't know how old you are. I'm sure I could do some quick math, but I know you're 40 something. So we'll just leave it at that. But I hope you have an amazing day today. And I love you. The kids love you. We all love you. So yeah, happy birthday. All right, guys. So hope you guys are having a great week so far. And I'm just chilling this week. Ain't nothing really exciting going on. Um, Kids are at school. They're doing their thing. Genesis has a college showcase camp coming up. She is going to be playing for some college coaches and networking and all that stuff. And that's happening this weekend. So I'm super excited for her. I cannot wait to just watch her do her thing. And I'm going to be right there. Make sure she got her water, got her snacks, her food, all that stuff. So I'm really proud of her and super excited for her. And then next week, Solomon is playing in his recital, and I'm excited about that because he will not tell me what song he's playing, y'all. He said it's a surprise. So I'm super excited to see what he's going to play, but whatever it is, I know he's going to kill it because he's amazing. So I'm just so excited for the both of them. And yeah, but my day is going well. My week is going well. So we are going to dive right into today's episode. And today's episode, we're going to be busting up some myths about autism and some common misconceptions. It is still Autism Awareness / Autism Acceptance Month. So we are just going to roll right into this episode so I can give you some more information, give you some more game, so that way we can continue to spread awareness about autism disorder and just giving you a little education, just dropping off a little education for you. So hopefully this helps you. Hopefully you can share this with someone who you think would find it helpful. And also too, before I get started, I always do it at the end of the podcast, but I think I'm gonna start doing it at the beginning. Please don't forget to follow me on Instagram at motherhood_is_ghetto. You can keep up with the show there. You can follow me and the kids there. Bam, bam, bam. Also too, as I mentioned in another episode, your girl got a TikTok now. Don't ask me how to use the TikTok, okay? Don't ask me nothing about it or what to do or how to do it. Just know your girl got a TikTok now. I don't even know how or where you could find me on TikTok. I don't know the handle, but once I do find out, I'm gonna put it in the show notes so that way you can also follow me on TikTok. But anywho, also too, you can follow the show. So if you're watching on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, you can follow the show. So that way you're notified, you get a little notification on your phone when a new episode is uploaded. And then lastly, if you're watching or listening to this on YouTube, please don't forget to subscribe. You know I need you to subscribe. Amen. So please do so if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and jump in. And before we start busting up myths, I did get a question from a listener. So we're going to go over that question really quick before we get into myth busting. Amen. Okay, y'all. So this mama asked, she said, "Hello, Joy. Just curious because I don't remember you mentioning it, but did your son ever do any styming? If so, what was it and does he still do it? My son has autism and he taps a lot. Just wondering if it's something that sticks with them or they eventually grow out of it." That's a great question. And also too, like I call it stimming or styming, or some people call it stimming because it's like stimulation, like all that. But I don't know, I call it styming. But that's a great question. So yes, Solomon did and does still stime. When he was younger, he used to also tap a lot. He would, pick up anything and just kind of like bang it on whatever. So we could be anywhere. We could be at home, we could be in the car, we could be at the store. And if he had something in his hand to tap, he was tapping that. Pop, 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 making all the noise, all that good stuff. And then also too, what he used to do when he was younger, and he still does today, is he paces. So, when he was little, he would just kind of like walk back and forth in the house and just like the same path, like he wouldn't deviate from the path. He would just walk back and forth. And I can remember when he was little, like, 3, 4 years old, he would pace in the hallway, outside of like my bedroom. And sometimes he would do it all night. And no matter how many times I put him in his bed or tell him to go get in his room and in his bed, like 5 minutes later, he's back out in the hallway and he's just pacing, like walking back and forth. Sometimes he'll make little noises. And at the time, he wasn't talking yet. So um, he would just kind of like, babble to himself and make weird noises and stuff. Until eventually he would just go to sleep. And that was wherever he would drop. So I remember many nights I would wake up and come out of my room to find him laying on the floor in the hallway sleeping. So, when he was little, he did that. He does still do that now. So there's some nights where he will get up and just kind of pace the house. Not as long as like he used to when he was a kid, but he'll kind of just walk around and I'll hear him talking and making like noises and and I'll hear him go upstairs, downstairs, upstairs, and then he'll sit down for a minute and then he'll come back out of his room and go back downstairs, come upstairs, and all the while he's making little noises like yip, whoop whoop whoop, like he's just making all these crazy noises. As far as them growing out of it, I mean, I feel like every kid might be different. um, I don't wanna go off and say like, yeah, they'll grow out of it because I know that my son hasn't grown out of it. My son is 13 and he still does styming. So I don't wanna say that they'll grow out of it. It may be like, less noticeable as they get older or not. I think it really just depends on the person, the individual, and, because the styming is for comfort, right? So it helps them to kind of like stay calm, regulate, all that stuff. So if they end up still needing that as they grow, then they'll keep doing it. If they grow to not need it anymore, then they won't do it. So I don't think that it's a matter of like if they'll grow out of it. I just think that every child is unique when it comes to them being on the spectrum. So you can expect a number of things, but yeah, it is something that's normal, just like, breathing for them. So, I wouldn't really worry about it too much, even if they don't grow out of it. It's just a part of who they are. So, but thank you for the question. I hope that answered your question. So, let's get into busting up some myths. Amen. And I am I'm gonna be reading off of Google. I found this article on Google. I think it had like 8 myths about autism um that we can kind of go through, and I was looking at them like, yeah, these are the most common ones that I've heard, common myths and misconceptions. So we're just going to go over them today. And again, if you learned something from this, amen, don't forget to share it with someone, okay? Spread awareness. But let's get into it. So myth number 1: autism is a disease. No, it's not a disease. Autism is an illness. It isn't an illness at all. It's just the way your brain works. Autism Spectrum Disorder is a neurodevelopmental disorder, which means something about brain development and function is different from that of a typical child. But different doesn't mean wrong. Amen. And autistic people aren't all different in the same ways. Um, so autism is not a disease. It's a neurodevelopmental disorder. So it's a brain, it's something in the brain. So it's not a disease, it's not anything that like they'll, succumb to and pass away from or anything like that. It's just a something going on in the brain. So that's myth number 1. Myth number 2: autism is a mental illness. No. So when you think of mental illness, you think of like schizophrenia, dementia, bipolar, stuff like that. This is not a mental illness. And what this article says is that it's in a similar vein, it's important to clarify that ASD isn't a mental illness. It's an understandable confusion. Healthcare professionals use the same diagnostic reference. Um, the fifth edition of Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders to diagnose both neurodevelopmental disorders and mental health conditions. But if you were to skim through that book, you'd notice that it's broken down into multiple categories. There are other key differences between ASD and mental illness too. Most mental illnesses develop later in life, like schizophrenia and alcohol use disorder are prime examples. But ASD, on the other hand, is a condition you're born with. Research does suggest that people with ASD have a higher risk of developing psychiatric disorders, so it's important that parents watch for changes in mood and behavior, just as they would any other child. So again, autism is not a mental illness. Amen. Myth number 3: there's an autism epidemic. No, it's not. Autism is becoming more common as a diagnosis, but that's primarily because of 4 big changes. So there's greater recognition. The people are more aware of autism than they used to be. There's so much more information out there. There's so much more studies and research. So it's not like this thing that like is a mystery and no one knows about. Like there's plenty of information out there, so people are more aware and recognize what autism is. Also, to increasing medical expertise. So providers are getting better at diagnosing autism. And we talked about it in the first episode of the month where I was sharing Solomon's story about autism and some of the statistics around children being diagnosed at earlier ages versus later ages, and the disparity that comes with Black children being misdiagnosed a lot of the times, and their autism being misdiagnosed as like a behavior issue or like ADD or ADHD, whereas autism was the root all along, but they were just misdiagnosed. So where it may seem as it's an epidemic and more people are popping up and saying they are autistic or they have autistic children, it's just that doctors are getting better at diagnosing this. Amen. Okay, amen to that. And they're not misdiagnosing anymore to at the rate that they were before. And then also too, more people are taking their children to get checked at earlier ages and noticing some of those signs earlier and taking action. Also too, changes to the diagnosis. Um, in 2013, changes to the DSM-5 declared ASD an umbrella diagnosis that replaced other diagnoses like Asperger's syndrome, autism, childhood disintegration disorder, and pervasive development disorder. People with these diagnoses were instead grouped under ASD diagnosis, which caused ASD to seemingly become more prevalent overnight. And new rules. In the past, healthcare providers weren't allowed to diagnose a person with both autism and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, ADHD. Once that changed, both conditions became more common as they often occur together. Man, we've come a long way. We've come a long way. So, myth number 4 that we're finna bust up. Only boys can be autistic. No, girls can also be autistic. Now, the rate at which girls are diagnosed with autism over boys is lower. So, what this says is the most recent data from the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention shows that autism isn't a sex-specific condition. Though boys are more likely to have ASD than girls, their research suggests about 4% of boys have ASD, while the number of autistic girls is lower at 1%. So it's not that girls don't have autism or, can't develop it. Um, it's just that there's just a lower percentage of girls who have it than boys. All right. So myth number 5, all autistic people, and then it says fill in the blank. There's so many misconceptions about people with autism. So what I've gotten the most from people just being out in the world and people interacting with Solomon that don't know he's autistic. Honestly, you wouldn't know unless I told you because he looks like everyone else. And I think that people often misunderstand that autism isn't a look. It's you don't look autistic. It doesn't have a look. And what we used to get a lot when I would tell people that Solomon was autistic, the first thing they would say is, he doesn't look autistic. Well, what does autistic look like, sir, madam? Like, what are we talking about? My son looks normal. He has all the things that everyone else has. He has eyes, ears, mouth, nose, fingers, toes, knees, elbows, shoulders. Like, so what was he supposed to look like just because he's autistic? um, so we get that a lot. All autistic people, look the same. Like, no, all autistic people act the same. No, they don't. Um, Another one is all autistic people are savants, meaning they have a special skill. Now, pause for the cause on that because, w- granted, no, all autistic people are not savants. But I think I'm gonna jump off the cliff here and say that my son is a little bit of a savant because one thing that I knew early on about Solomon is that he had an impeccable memory. When I say impeccable memory, he remembers everything, everything. And even though sometimes now, like he'll say like, "Oh, I forgot to take out the trash." He didn't forget to take out the trash. He might have got distracted, but he didn't forget to take out the trash. He knows that that's what he does. Like that's his chore. So he knows like I take out the trash. But when it comes to Solomon's memory, right? So when we were kind of figuring out what activities the kids would do. Genesis had found volleyball, and Jahari had found basketball. Solomon was kind of stuck in the middle, and he was like, well, I want something, that I can do, like an activity for me, but I don't want to play sports because I hate sports. So in my mind, okay, in my mind, I'm thinking that Solomon would be great at music because he has a great memory. So if he sees or hears a piece of music, I just knew. I was like, he's gonna catch on and he's gonna be really good at it. But again, I wanted him to choose his own way. So I just threw it out there as a suggestion. I was like, well, do you want to try music? And he was like, well, what instrument would I play? And I was like, it's up to you. Whatever you want to play. I didn't say nothing. I just left it there. And he said, I'm gonna think about it and let you know. I was like, sure, absolutely. A couple of days later, he came back to me and he said, Mom, I think I want to play the drums. And that's all she wrote, baby. Cause he playing to this day, and I knew he was gonna be good at it. And his very first lesson, like, he looked at the music once, the teacher, like, showed him how to play the rhythm, and that was it. Like, he was done. Like, he was reading music by the time he was done with his first lesson. Like, no sweat. Like, he reading it and playing. So I just knew, amen. I just knew that would be what he was going to be good with because he has a great memory. So, like I said, like not all autistic people have a superpower or something that's like really unique talent or whatever about them, but I like to think that some of them do. So, just like anyone else. So, I think that that's cool. Another misconception is that autistic people are violent. No, it's not true. Um, I think my son is the most sweetest kid. Like I mean, and they're all sweet actually. I've had the pleasure of being around lots of children with autism just by raising a child with autism, and they are all so sweet, super nice. I've never had a bad interaction with anyone who was on the spectrum, so that's a lie. um, have learning or intellectual disabilities. And that too is a myth because I know for Solomon, I know that he had like developmental delays, but as far as like his intellect, all that came with time and just with the therapies and stuff like that. So it doesn't mean like they're like retarded or slow, none of that stuff. Because that wasn't our experience at all. Also too, they can't have relationships. Hello? Yes, they can. They can definitely have relationships. My son has friends right now, and I'm sure in another year or two, the girl he's gonna be calling because he's handsome. You know what I'm saying? Like I made that, so I already know. Like he's handsome. So definitely like relationships are not off the table. And I watched this, I don't know if y'all watch it, but I watched this show on Netflix called Autism on the Spectrum or Love on the Spectrum. And I love that show. They out here finding love. Amen. They out here doing it. So it can be done. Um, Autistic people aren't sensitive to the needs and emotions of the people around them. And they truly are. Um, they can feel emotions and stuff like that and feel bad for another person. So, yeah, that's not true at all that they can't or they're not sensitive. Um, can't do certain jobs or parent children. Now, we know that that's a lie. Like, come on. And then also too, they can't speak. And we all know that's not true because there's lots of autistic people out here talking, speaking on stages. Amen. So not everyone that's on the spectrum can't speak. There are some nonverbal people with autism, and there are a lot who are verbal. So like that's why it's a spectrum, because it's wide. So moving on to myth number 6, childhood vaccines cause autism. This is a myth you've probably heard before. A researcher named Andrew Wakefield claimed that the MMR vaccine caused autism. His findings appeared in a 1998 issue of The Lancet, a prestigious medical journal. From there, the story spread. Meanwhile, despite researchers' efforts, nobody ever managed to replicate Wakefield's findings because, as it turns out, he falsified the data. Investigators discovered that he had a financial conflict of interest he didn't disclose. He was also ideologically opposed to vaccination. He put false information about the patients he studied in his paper in order to make his case against the MMR vaccine. In 2010, a panel charged Wakefield with dishonesty in his research. The article was retracted and he lost his medical license, as there is no scientific support for the idea that vaccines cause autism. But the damage was already done. Many people still believe, despite extensive research to the contrary, that vaccines cause autism. It's one of many reasons vaccine hesitancy is on the rise. So no, vaccines don't cause autism. Period. It's been debunked. It's been proven wrong. It's not true. Myth number 7. Bad parenting causes autism. Man, what? Let me find out you could be a bad parent and give your kid the tism. That's crazy. That's insane. In order to understand why some people attribute ASD to bad parenting, we have to go way back in time to the 1940s when the concept of autism first emerged. Austrian psychiatrist Leo Kanner was the very first person to describe autism. Kanner theorized that autism was caused by something called refrigerator mother syndrome. Dr. Kaufman explains, at this point in the study of psychology, researchers, inspired by Sigmund Freud, thought that childhood trauma was the root of most mental issues. In the case of autism, well, the phrase refrigerator mother kind of says it all. The theory Dr. Kaufman explains was that mothers who were cold, distant, and unavailable traumatized their children to such an extent that they became autistic. For decades, that theory dominated the study of autism, but Dr. Kaufman is clear. For all the harm it did, there was never any evidence behind the refrigerator mother theory. People just be coming up with stuff. They just be saying stuff. Refrigerator mother. That's insane. Okay, so myth number 8. Autism can be cured. As tough as it may be to hear, autism is a lifelong disorder. It isn't a disease and it can't be cured. But don't let the fact that there's no cure for ASD keep you from having your child evaluated. There's no cure, but we definitely have treatments, Dr. Kaufman shares. Currently, the evidence-based treatments are all therapies and educational intervention. There are no medications, diet changes, vitamin supplements, or anything like that. Autistic children who have food allergies or digestive issues do benefit from special diets, just like neurotypical children do. But be sure to talk with your doctor before trying a new diet. Instead of trying to cure autism, providers focus on helping children make independent developmental progress, and they can make progress. The earlier a child is diagnosed with the condition, the earlier they're able to receive interventions and support. They might not get better, so to speak, but their behaviors will change over time as they develop and respond to specialized care. So, yes, this is a lifelong thing. So, with my son, he will always be autistic, and that's just that. But because we intervened when he was so young, he has been able to overcome some of those obstacles that come with him having ASD. So that's why we say, like, awareness is key, early intervention is key, knowing what it looks like and, what to do if your child shows signs of being on the spectrum is super important. And that's it, mamas. So those are the 8 myths and misconceptions about autism and people with autism. So I hope that this episode was helpful. I'm going to go ahead and land the plane here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with another mama who you think would also find it helpful. Also, too, don't forget to follow the show. We're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast. And if you're listening and watching on YouTube, go ahead and hit the subscribe. Follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, too, follow me on TikTok, I guess. Follow me on TikTok. And again, don't ask me what to do, how to do. Just know that you can follow me there too and keep up with the show there too. But thank you again so much, mamas, for tuning in. And until next time, mamas. Thank you so much for listening to today's podcast. Don't forget to follow the podcast and share with anyone who you think may enjoy it. And follow me on Instagram at motherhood_ghetto. Also, feel free to DM me if you have any experiences, opinions, or views on motherhood you'd like me to share on the podcast. Until next time, mamas.